Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Civil Justice Full Committee. What's anticipated to be our last meeting of the year. So, Madam Clerk, you go ahead and call the roll.
Representatives Beck, Bricken, Bolso, Capley, Eldridge, Gant, Garrett, Grills, Harris, Lamberth, Littleton, Parkinson, Powell, Russell, Stevens, Todd, Vice Chairman Jernigan, Chairman Farmer.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
And thank you for that. Members, we have any announcements or any recognition or anything before we start? I'm not seeing any. We have a calendar. Just want to make one announcement before we get started. Item 3, House Bill 1259 by Representative Vital. He's requested that bill be taken off notice. Any objection? Seeing none. House Bill 1259 is off notice. That brings to item 1, House Bill 1346 by Representative Powers. You got a motion and a second, and I'm looking at an amendment. You want to move forward with that?
Yeah, the amendment number 6207.
Got a motion and a second. We want to vote to put that on, members? Looks like we do. All those in favor of adopting House Amendment 6207 to House Bill 1346, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Now we're back on the bill as amended, and you're recognized.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1346 expands the prohibition on restrictions on private property rights under Agenda 21 of the United Nations, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development from the United Nations, and the United Nations proposal to reach net zero emissions by 2050, or any other international law or plan of action that impacts the Constitution of the United States or the Tennessee State Constitution. This bill was actually copied from a law that's passed in Alabama. It makes it so Tennessee is not bound by what the United Nations would implement. So basically, it's cutting ties with the United Nations. If we wanted to do something that they are doing, then we would have to vote on it as a legislature. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you for that explanation. Members, any questions for Representative Powers? I don't see any. Want to go ahead and vote? Any objection? Seeing none. Looks like we're voting to send House Bill 1346 as amended to finance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Bill moves on.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
Mr. Chairman.
no, let the clerk know. Item 2, House Bill 944 by Representative Alexander. Ma'am, you got a motion and a second, and I've got amendment 5150. Is that something you'd like to move forward with? I got a motion, got a second. We want to go ahead and adopt that, members? Looks like we do. All those in favor of adopting House Amendment 5150 to House Bill 944, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Now we're back on the bill as amended. Ma'am, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee. What this bill does, it defines financial abuse, and it expands domestic abuse to include financial abuse. And number 3, it expands abuse and neglect of vulnerable adults to include financial abuse.
Very good. And thank you for that explanation. Members, any questions for Representative Alexander before we vote? Any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of moving House Bill 944 to calendar rule, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee.
All right, brings us to item 4, House Bill 1517 by Representative Shaw. If we could, without objection, we'll take a 2-minute recess. All right, thank you for that, and I apologize. All right, item 4, House Bill 1517 by Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this bill is,
Members, I need a motion in a second. Okay, there you are. You're recognized on that, sir.
thanks, sir. This bill has done 2 or 3 things in the last 2 or 3 days that I had no control over. It started out by just simply transferring pilot funds from Mega Site Authority Board to the local officials. And then they came back and wanted to add an amendment to make sure that people who provided security for the mega site would be covered. The county is already covered, and they wanted to make sure that the city policemen that would provide security would be covered. Now, we filed a late amendment, and the amendment, as I told you, was filed late. So it is, the part about providing the security is not on the bill.
You know, and members, I had talked with Representative Shaw. I know we had an extraordinary week last week dealing with tough issues, and I know we've had a rough week this week. So I would ask that if his will committee, go ahead, if we could accept a late file amendment for Representative Shaw, I would accept a motion in a second for a late file. Got a motion in a second. Anybody opposed to adopting that amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting House Amendment, late file amendment 5700, House Bill 1517, say aye. Aye. Excuse me. I'm sorry, I had the wrong amendment number, members. 718. It's Amendment 7185.
Yes.
All right. All those in favor of adopting late filed Amendment 7185 to House Bill 1517, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Now let us know what this bill does, Representative.
The
With the amendment.
late amendment, the 7185, is the one that would add the Brownsville City Police Department as providing security along with the Sheriff Department for the mega site. That's all that last amendment does. Yes.
Members, do we have any questions for Representative Shaw? Representative Garrett, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Shaw, thank you for bringing this particular legislation. I read it a few times, and I get a little bit nervous when we try to blanket the Government Tort Liability Act over non-governmental agencies. And I think you said just then that this is for the Brownsville Police Department as they provide security to the mega site.
That is correct. They would be added as one that could. Yes, sir.
Representative Garrett.
If they are providing, are they providing security under contract with the mega site through the mega site's authority?
Representative Shaw.
That would be my understanding, sir.
Go ahead, Representative Garrett.
And have we vetted why they wouldn't, the Brownsville City Police as a governmental police department wouldn't already have this protection as it exists today, rather than creating this statute that may not be necessary? Do you know if that's been vetted?
Okay. Members, without objection, let's go out of session here from Ms. Ansonia. Maybe I'll answer that question. Okay. Without objection. Ms. Ansonia.
Elizabeth Ansonia, Legal Services. So the amendment as drafted, if you look at section 4, addresses an off-duty law enforcement officer or sheriff employed by a governmental entity to provide security services at a mega site. So it would be only off-duty law enforcement officers or sheriffs who are then contracting.
What, Representative Garrett, for legal.
Thank you. So in an instance where an officer working for either a city or a county does this on the side and does private security not in the course and scope of their employment with the city or county they work for, does the government tort liability protection end since they are doing security for a private mall or something in the area?
Ms. Ansonia.
You're asking in general, like not just in the case of the mega site?
In general, yes.
Yes, in general, the GTLA only applies when they are on duty acting in their official capacity. And this amendment would say if they are providing security services at the mega site, that's going to make them an employee.
Okay. So under that analysis, then we are extending the Government Tort Liability Act to this officer as a private citizen performing services to the mega site, not as a Brownsville police officer.
Ms. Ansonia.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Members, any other questions for legal? I have Representative Beck, and then I'll get to you, Boso.
Yes, is there any precedence? Have we done this before?
Ms. Sonia?
There are several definitions in Title 29, Chapter 20 of who is an employee. So it's not cut and dried, but I can give you some other examples, but you'll have to give me a minute to look them up. But there are lots of different categories of governmental employees.
President Beck?
Particularly where we have extended GTLA to private individuals doing work on certain sites.
Ms. Sonia?
I'll just have to look at that specific issue.
Okay. Yes, Leader Lambert, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if you don't mind, while you're looking at that, it sounds like with the newest amendment, we're talking about off-duty law enforcement officers providing security to an entity that is obviously not where they're full-time employed. Have we extended GTLA in any other circumstance to off-duty officers that are providing security to different entities?
Ms. Sonia?
It's just not an answer that I have at my fingertips right now. There are several different sections that set out who are included in governmental employees for this purpose. So I'll have to look through those.
Mr.
All right. Representative Balso, did you have, Leader Lambert, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say something. I have been remiss in saying this for a couple of years now. Our legal services folks have the toughest job of any lawyer in the state. And I'm not joking, because any other lawyer's office that you go to and ask them a question like the questions we are asking right now, be it Johnny or Bill, Gino or me or anybody else, the answer you're going to get is, well, let me look that up and I will get back to you. That is a very, and I'm seeing Representative Stevens down here too. What we require of our legislative attorneys is to ask very intricate questions and then almost immediately get an answer back every time. So I just wanted to say publicly, thank y'all for the work that you do, and understand that we all recognize it, especially the attorneys in the room, that is very difficult. So thank you. And Mr. Chairman, even if we have to roll this a few spaces or through the Hill or something to get the answers, I'd rather go forward with full answers and with our legal services having plenty of time to look at it. Just a suggestion. Thank you.
And Leader Lambert, with that suggestion, members, without objection, let's go back into session. And then Representative Shaw, let's give legal services just a moment here to look for this answer. I think it's important for us to know. So members, without objection, we want to roll this to the Hill of the calendar today. All right, without objection, we'll roll item 4, House Bill 1570, to the Hill of today's regular calendar.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we have item 5, and I do not see Representative Chisholm on House Bill 820. Looks like it's been general subbed in the Senate. Do we want to make a motion to? Okay, members, without objection, we have any objection rolling this to the Hill? Yeah. Be House Bill 820. Okay.
I would object just from the standpoint it's been general sub in the Senate. I don't know that we need to take any action on it today, but maybe roll it to the first calendar next year. And I would move that we roll this to the first calendar next year.
Well, I've already got a motion to roll it to the Hill, so we would then, and now I've got objection, so we need to vote on whether or not to roll it to the Hill. If that succeeds, it'll be the Hill. If not, then we can make. All right, members, all those in favor of rolling House Bill 820 to the Hill today's calendar, say aye. Oppose? No. All right, stays where it's at. Representative. Yeah, Todd, you recognize. Sorry, my mind just went blank. I don't even know where that went.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
thought
Chairman.
you
No,
recognized.
I understand. I'm in that position quite often. Mr. Chairman, I would move to roll this to the first available calendar of 2024 and give the sponsor time to gather information about whether this is moving at all.
Okay.
Thank you.
That sounds good. We got a proper motion, probably motion seconded. All those in favor of moving House Bill 820 to the first calendar of 2024, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. House Bill 820, first calendar, 2024. Item 6, House Bill 760 by Representative Eldridge. Got a motion second, sir, and I'm looking at House Amendment 5128.
That is correct, Chairman.
Okay, got a motion, got a second. Members, we will go ahead and adopt that amendment. Looks like we do. All those in favor of adopting House Amendment 5128 to House Bill 760, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Now we're back on the bill as amended, and you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. This bill just simply waives the lifetime enhancement gun carry permit fees for state residents who are retired veterans of the United States Armed Forces.
Very
And
good, Nan. Thank you for that explanation. Members, any questions for Representative Eldridge? Any questions, any comments? Questions been called, any objection? Seeing none. Looks like we're ready to vote, send House Bill 760 to Finance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Bill moves on.
Thank you, Chairman and committee.
You're welcome. Item 7, House Bill 1044 by Representative Bricken. You got a motion and a second. I'm looking at House Amendment 6373, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would not like to run that amendment, but I would like to roll this bill to the first available calendar of 2024.
Proper motion, properly seconded. Members, any objection? Seeing none. Looks like House Bill 1044, without objection, will be rolled to the first calendar 2024. Very good. Item 8, House Bill 987 by Representative Beck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm looking at House Amendment 5723. You're properly motioned, properly seconded.
Thank you. I have an amendment.
Is that 5723?
That is.
Got a motion, got a second. Members, want to go ahead and put that on for questions? Looks like we do. All those in favor of adopting House Amendment 5723 to House Bill 987, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Now we're back on the bills amended. Representative Beck, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And with the amendment, what we're saying here is that the Board of Judicial Conduct will have a duty to notify the complainant of the results of the hearing. And also the complainant will have a right, just as the judicial candidates do and the judges do, for a direct appeal to the Tennessee Supreme Court within 14 days. And with that, renew my motion.
All right, thank you, Representative Beck. Members, we have any questions for Representative Beck? Leader Lambert, you recognize.
Mr. Chairman, I know I'm out of order, but we have been visited by royalty today. Mr. and Mrs. Grills, Jack and Ann Grills in the back, which are Rusty Grills' parents, are here. And he was going to recognize them, but look, I thought it might be better if we all recognize them and thank them for raising such a good young man.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all being here. It's a pleasure most of the time working with your son.
Why are you so quiet today?
Okay, Representative Parkinson, you're recognized. You're good. Okay, Representative Bolso, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sponsor, I've got one question, and it's a procedural one. In the underlying action, the parties are the Board of Judicial Conduct and the judge as a defendant or as a respondent. So typically under the rules of appellate procedure, either the board or the judge could file an appeal from the underlying ruling. A complainant typically is not a party to the proceeding itself. So my question simply is, will this bill, if adopted, require any amendment to the rules of appellate procedure such that a complainant, a non-party, is given a set of rules and regulations under which to appeal a ruling that, from the complainant's perspective, is adverse?
Representative Beck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This language in this particular amendment was language approved by the AOC. So it gives the complainant the ability to make
the appeal and also to be notified. I think that's been part of the problem, Representative, that there's not been any communication sometimes with the complainant themselves. And so this will give the complainant the ability to not only know what has happened, but also give them the ability to have it appealed. And I hope that answers your question.
Representative Bolso, any follow-up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, it does. I mean, I applaud the idea of allowing a complainant standing to pursue what the complainant might view as an adverse ruling. And if the AOC is passed on this, then my presumption would be that they've analyzed the issue and they're comfortable that under current rules, there's a procedural mechanism by which this could actually occur. So thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Members, any other questions for Representative Beck? Representative Brecken, do you have your hand up, or Representative Brecken, did you? No, okay. Representative Todd?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there's enough question about this, and I'm not, I wonder what our need is here. Can you tell me why this is something that's needed in our system?
Representative Beck, you recognize.
Because at this point in time, Chairman Todd, there's no mechanism that requires the Board of Judiciary Conduct to give a notification to the complainant, and there's no, as Representative Bolso pointed out, there's no mechanism presently for the complainant to appeal the decision of the Board of Judicial Conduct. So that is the need. And I hope I've answered your question.
Any follow-up, Representative Todd? Chairman. All right. And I heard the question before I recognized Chairman Todd. Do I want to hear it again? Very good. Question's been called. All those in favor of sending House Bill 987 as amended to counter rule, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. No. Ayes have it. Bill moves on. And that brings us to the heel of the calendar. And without objection, go out of session. We want to hear from Ms. Ansonia. We're going to move back to item 4, House Bill 1517. And without objection, out of session.
Elizabeth Ansonia, Legal Services. I found at least 2 places in the GTLA where it is extended to people who are not government employees. In section 2920-102-3D, we've included nonprofit property owners associations in a specific context. And then in section 2920-107-G1A, we've included non-governmental independent contractors or other persons or entities that contract with or enter into any agreements with the Regional Transportation Authority for the provision of commuter rail transit services, facilities, or functions upon a rail line.
Members, any questions for Ms. Ansonia? Representative Bolso, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I could, Ms. Ansonia, let me just try to confirm 2 things. First, if this bill were adopted, would that limit the plaintiff's recovery to the $300,000 cap in the GTLA?
Ms. Ansonia?
Yes.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. The second question is, if this bill does not pass, that is under current law, what limitation, if any, would there be on an injured party's ability to recover damages for an injury suffered?
Ms. Ansonia?
I think the limitation would just be the general limitation for tort liability, which I can find for you if you just give me a second. I believe it's $750,000 unless it's a catastrophic injury, and there's a definition for that.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So is it fair to say, Ms. Ansonia, that if this bill passes, we're actually reducing the recovery that might be available to an injured party?
Ms. Ansonia?
Yes.
Thank you.
Members, any other questions for legal before we go back in session? Seeing none. All right, Representative Shaw, any comments? you'd like to make?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, sir. I brought this bill from our Senator Paige Wally, who the local folks wanted to bring it for. And I think all they were trying to do was to cover the construction part of the Blue Oval situation, that they're trying to get people out there at nighttime to, for that purpose and for that reason. That's my understanding, that he brought me the late amendment on the bill, not in time to get it filed in time. And of course, I explained that to him. So this is where we are, but it's just to help the local folks out. And over at Blue Oval, that's doing the construction work is what we're trying to do. And it passed in the Senate. It's already passed in the Senate.
All right, your amendment's on, sir. So that amendment's on the bill. Excuse me.
And I just renew my motion.
Okay. Members, we have any questions for Representative Shaw or for legal, for that matter, before we vote? Seeing none. Well, Representative Bozo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yep, to the sponsor, Representative Shaw, you heard Ms. Insonia's analysis that if this passes, it's actually going to limit the recovery that an injured party might otherwise receive by extending this concept called sovereign immunity, which is part of the Constitution. Was it your intent in bringing this bill to restrict an injured party's ability to recover damages?
No, sir. The intent was to allow the local folks to make some extra money when they are off the shift. That was the intent of it in the beginning. But no, sir, it was not.
Members, any questions or comments for Representative Shaw? Now, and I have one. I'm going to, if you don't mind, I have one. Can go back out of session. I'm going to ask Ms. Insonia a question without objection. With regards to this piece of legislation, would it only apply to mega sites? Is it captioned and phrased to where just employees basically of a mega site would fall under this protection?
Yes, it's limited to the mega site.
Do we know, do you know how many mega sites are across the state of Tennessee by chance?
I believe there's just one.
Okay. All right. Members, any additional questions for Ms. Insonia? Okay. Without objection, go back in session. Any additional questions or comments? Are we ready to vote? All right. Looks like we're ready to vote to send House Bill 1517 to calendar rules. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
No.
Bill fails. Thank you. All right, and that brings us, I believe that finishes up the calendar unless I missed something there. And then we have an addendum here, which is House Bill 1355, which is mine. I just want to take that off notice, so without objection. Excuse me. Members, without objection, we'll send it to the clerk's desk. So without objection. And I believe that's it. Courtney, have anything else? We good? Yeah. Yeah, gotcha. And members, I just want to say, I want to thank our legal staff. Thank Robbie, Courtney. I want to thank members. I want to thank Shreya, our intern, for the year for the committees we had. I know we had some tough issues. We got through it and wouldn't have gotten through it without you all working hard. So just appreciate all y'all. So with that said, the committee, I'll take a motion. Well, Representative Capley, you recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank you for your leadership to this committee. I think it's been a good year, and we surely appreciate you guiding us through the waters on this, and appreciate your leadership as a freshman, and thoroughly enjoyed it. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Appreciate that. Thanks, guys. Yeah, appreciate it. Representative Parkinson, you recognize?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I represent the Democrats. Just wanted to thank you, again, I've always enjoyed, serving on this committee. It's a good committee. We have had some tough issues this year, tougher than most years, and we have navigated through it. I guess I speak for the Democrats that's on the committee. Is that okay, Tori? Okay. And again, thank you for your leadership. We look forward to more good items to tackle. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. And Representative Grills, you recognize, sir?
Thank you, Chairman. And I know you mentioned the research analysts and all, but just another shout out to them. I mean, I've had several bills, Chairman Todd and I have had several things we're working on in the legal staff. We put them through several questions, several phone calls, several emails. And I've come in several nights and dropping someone off wherever after eating supper, and it'd be 9 o'clock, and the research analysts were going home at 9, so or even later than that. So just thank y'all for y'all's extra efforts that y'all put forth and helping us out like you do. Appreciate it.
And I failed to specifically point out, we have Elizabeth and Sonia and Taylor Overton as our lawyers. And excuse me, Michelle Fogarty. Michelle's down there hiding, being really, all right. Michelle couldn't get through this without y'all, and Courtney Kaufman, like Rusty said. So members, without that, take a motion to close, subject to the call of the chair. All right, very good.